Welcome. Come on in if you're still in the lobby. Give you just a minute to come on in. Well, welcome to Home. Home stands for Helping Our Moms Excel, and we are here to support and encourage moms. My name is Jamie, and I have the privilege of serving alongside all of our leadership team, and we are just so happy you guys are here. I have just one little announcement before we get going. If you signed up to do Surprise Sisters, you should have gotten your name by now. You will get a new name next week. So go ahead and surprise your first surprise sister, and then wait for your new name. I've been hearing some really fun stories, so I'm excited for everyone to get theirs. That's our only announcement for this week, so I'm going to welcome up Larita Brown. Larita is a licensed therapist here in town and is here to talk with us about our children's mental health.
Okay, can you hear me? This is my first time wearing a mic like this, so trying out some new things. Okay, thank you for asking me to come. I think this is the second time I've been with this group. I don't recognize any of you except for I know Jamie. Did any of you hear me last time I was here, like 2 years ago? You were here? Two of you. Okay, good. So if I repeat myself, that's okay. Maybe you won't remember. So Jamie said that you were trying to think about going back to the basics. And so I thought, what do I want to say to you about going back to basics for your children's mental health? And so I feel like I was working in my garden right after Jamie asked me, whenever that was, and this was kind of what came to my heart when I was gardening. So let's see how this works, how we're going with this. So the first thing I want to say to you is that I'm a trauma-informed therapist for children. So in 2015, I was trained by the Karen Purvis Institute in Texas at TCU to work with kids who have been through trauma and adoption and foster care. And the reason why that's important is because when we recognize what happens to kids who have gone through what Karen would call hard places, their neurotransmitters in their brain, it has what I call a base of anxiety. They're not free to be just themselves. So this material that I'm talking about today is from that, and I want to reference that because it's really great material. Karen wrote a book called The Connected Child, Karen Purvis, and there's a new book out called The Connected Parent by one of the parents who quotes Karen and who gives her life experience using this material. It's called TBRI. It's trust-based relational intervention, and pretty much a lot of what I'm going to say today comes from that training that I had from those books from Karen's material. I almost brought my manual in. It's about this thick, but I didn't. I pulled some sheets out of there for it. So I want to let you know that I'm referencing that because it's a great resource, and pretty much a lot of what I'm going to say in here is based on my own experience, but also from her work in my practice working with children for the last 12 years. So I combined that. The other thing I want to say is that I'm a mom of 3 boys, and they're men now. And I have one granddaughter who's biologically my granddaughter, and I watch her every Monday. We have Grandma Monday Day. And then I have my husband has 12 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild and another great-grandchild on the way. So we have a lot of littles in our life. I think lately what I've been learning the most from is seeing the material that I learned now based on my experiences being a mom and being overwhelmed as a mom of 3 boys, now being a grandma and having this training that I have. I think who I'm learning from the most is my 3-year-old granddaughter. She is teaching me so much, and she's making me use this material that I that I tell everybody all the time, and is like, oh, yeah, in theory this works, but when you get down to the rug, down to the, like at the bare bones, it's like, oh my gosh, when a 3-year-old is kind of pushing back a little bit, you got to use these skills. And so I am coming with you with a sense of humility, knowing that theories are good and great, but, sometimes in the thick of things, it's really hard to implement them. And I want to just have you all have some grace for yourself and to recognize that no parent is perfect. No child has perfect mental health when they grow up. That's part of our process as a human, and not to beat yourself up too much about that. And when your children get to be adults, you can tell them that you're sorry for being human, and now they get to be human with their own children. So my son and I had that conversation, and I'm like, don't be too hard on her like I was on you. And so, that you might just have to have that. I also want to say that the reason why I'm a therapist and why I'm in this position is because I wasn't the best mom when my kids were little. I recognized early on that I needed some new training. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, and I didn't want to perpetuate that into my children. So I spent hours and hours reading books and teaching things myself. And James Dobson was the big guru back then, and I don't even agree with everything he teaches now. So, but at the time, it fed me, and so now I'm in this constant place of learning about how to raise the best humans out of children. And, I really love it. I love working with little ones, and they're so fun and so cute. And they're precious. And that's what I want to talk about. It's the preciousness of human life, of being a human being. Karen always said that her whole model, Karen has since passed away, but her whole model, what she developed was the idea of how precious our littles are. But I want to also say to you that we are precious. You as a mom are precious. Me as a grandma I'm precious. We're all precious, and sometimes we have a really hard time realizing that in the midst of kids screaming because they're hungry or they don't want to go to bed, or you're like going crazy because you don't know what to do in the moment. And how did your precious baby get like this? And so that's what I want just to talk about, that we are precious, they are precious, and I think we all need to understand the preciousness of human beings and humankind. I think if the world could see the preciousness of people, we would be in a lot better place. So we're going to start by doing a little bit of mindfulness exercise, because I want us just to kind of feel grounded in that preciousness. And what I want to do is kind of quote Genesis 1:27, the beginning, the A part of it is that God created us in his image, in his likeness, he created us. And we're going to kind of start there at the basics of that preciousness, that because we're created in the image of God, we are precious. We are valuable. So I'm going to lead you in an exercise where you can just kind of take that in, meditate on that, and I'll just give us a couple minutes to kind of sit with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our hands on our chest, and we're going to put one on our stomachs. And we're just going to take a deep breath in. It's hard with masks, I know. Cheat a little bit, maybe if you have to. And then breathe out. And I want you just to, with your hands on your chest and on your stomach, I just want you to notice what it feels like to have your hands on your chest and your stomach, and notice the weight of your hands. Notice the temperature. Notice your breathing. And allow yourself to notice what it feels like just to give yourself some nurture by the weight of your hands and the temperature. Think of yourself as precious because you're created in the image of God. I want you just to notice that for yourself right now. I don't want you to think about your kids, your spouse. I want you to nurture that self inside of you that was created in the image of God. I hope this gives you a sense of peace, a sense of value, and a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. We're going to take a big breath and breathe out, and we'll be done with this grounding exercise. I hope that if you don't take anything else out of my talk, that you can stay with this moment of what it feels like to be grounded in that idea of what God says in His Word about you. So when you look at the concept of imago Dei, created in the image of God, there's a substance view that says that image of God is within us, is the psychological and the spiritual makeup of a human being. That because of that, we have a soul that mirrors the divine, that our soul longs to have connection to the concept of God, to who God is as a person. And we are longing to mirror Him. When we see God in us, or we recognize God in someone else, it's like we want to be like Christ. And He says that He wants us to be like His Son, Jesus. And that is, the more that we know, that's our goal. The more that we know God and the more we know Him through Christ, the more we want to mirror Him and be like Him and have the wisdom of Him and the knowledge and the understanding. And so this substantive view of the image of God says that because somehow God put in us this spiritual makeup that says that we're to be like Him, that we are like Him, we are mirroring Him. Mirroring, the concept of mirroring is incredibly important, especially when it comes to our children. Unfortunately, our kids mirror the not so good things about us. And they are not discerning. They just see mommy and daddy doing it, so they are like, they're going to do it all right. So mirroring, the concept of mirroring. A child mirrors its parent or its grandparent or the daycare worker or the people who watch your kids. They mirror them. And in turn, when you're mirroring God, they will mirror God. That's the goal. If you want to know what's really most beneficial for your child, is the fact that if you're mirroring God in the midst of a chaotic day, and maybe it's just like overwhelming, and you're able just to like take a moment and breathe and pray or give praise or give God glory, your child is going to mirror that. So whatever you mirror with God, your child is going to mirror. And you know that verse in Deuteronomy where it says, teach about God when you lay down, when you're eating. I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the whole thing. But, in life, you're mirroring God. Your child is going to mirror God, and they're going to know him. They're not going to know about him. So one of the ways that I do this now with my granddaughter is when we're in the car and I'm driving somewhere, I'm giving God praise. It's so easy. Just thank you for the trees when the fall was here. Thank you, God, for the beautiful trees. They're so beautiful. Thank you for such a beautiful gift. Thank you for Mommy and Daddy that give us, that help take care of you. Mom and Daddy help take care of you. Thank you, God, for Mommy and Daddy. Thank you, God, for dogs and for trees. And so we bring God into that sense of helping her to know that in her spirit, in her soul, she has something innate in her that God put in us, in that imago Dei, that we're created in his image, and we know in our hearts. And so mirroring is a key component of mental health for children, is understanding that your child is learning from you by mirroring, copying. So there's a really fun thing that I do in therapy a lot of times, because some kids can't mirror because what they've seen, kids from hard places haven't seen positive mirroring. So my granddaughter, she's pretty smart. She's looking at me in the car seat, and I scowl a lot. I just have this natural scowl, and I look mean and unhappy all the time, and really I'm not, but I just scowl a lot. And it's genetic. My mom's like that. My sisters are like that. I'm like that, unfortunately. And she says, Grandma, why are you so sad? Why are you so upset? And I'm like, she's seeing my face, and she's feeling upset because my face looks upset. So I'm driving. I'm trying to practice being happy. Because I know that she's mirroring, that she's seeing from me what it means to be happy, what it means to be thankful, what it means to be grateful. So I like to give that little example because I think it's kind of funny. But in therapy, what I do a lot of times is I just let kids sit in front of their parents, and we do funny faces. And we do googly eyes, and we stick our tongues out, and then we take turns, and we do funny things with our hands, because we want to take time to look in a child's eyes, and we want to say, I see you. I notice you. You're so precious. You're so valuable. So the concept of looking straight into a child's eyes. One of the things that we do, again, this is a TBRI intervention, is we'll be silly. We're like, oh, let me see your purple eyes. Hey, my eyes aren't purple. Well, let me see them then. I think they're purple. And then they look right at you. See, I have blue eyes. And it's just all in fun. It's fun, right? We're playing. And when we're playing, we're actually saying, I see you. I notice you. You're valuable and you're important. And so you can do that at any time, like all the time. In the mirror in the car, see, I do that. I can see you. And that's what peekaboo's all about, right? Hiding and peekaboo. That's also part of that is, I see you. Can you find me? And this is very much a developmental stage of the first year, the first and second year of developing a sense of ego. So that's important. Kids, we think of ego as being bad, but ego is a concept of self. So we want to We want to grow a sense of self. We want kids to know that who they are is important, because that's part of that substance view of being a part of God. So one of the characteristics of God that we also know is that we have a will and we have the ability to reason. So I did a quote here on my phone. Let's see if it worked. Let's see. Tried something new. You know how that goes when you try new things. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. So when we have a will or a reason, so the developmental stage for this is 3 and 4. You know, when they say, no, how about let's do this? No. And they start telling you everything that they want to do, and that you want to like, you're putting dinner plate down, and they want the pink spoon all the time. Well, the pink spoon's in the dishwasher. But I want the pink spoon. How about the green spoon? No, I want the pink spoon. I know that can be really frustrating, but what you're doing, what's happening in there, is you're developing a sense of identity, a sense of this is who you are. You love pink? Okay, let's take the pink spoon out of the dishwasher and wash it. We're growing this sense of will and reason. Now, when I had kids, it was a bad thing for kids to have will. And this terminology of we're going to break your kid's will. And, oh, I hate that so much. But we want to grow our kids' will, their ability to make choices and to know who they are and to strengthen their identity. We're afraid that kids are going to be egotistical and selfish and self-centered, but at this stage in life, that they are self-centered, and they should be. They should be really focusing on themselves. So how do you do that? How do you nurture a sense of will and a sense of reason in a kid that is selfish? Because it seems like, oh my gosh, I'm just teaching my kid to be selfish. Well, you're still a parent, and you're still trying to train them on how to go in the way that they should go. So how about you give them a choice? And you should never give more than 1 or 2 choices. But you should never back down as a parent for what you want. So I think the classic one is going to bed, like the classic we're fighting to go to bed kind of thing. And hey, sweetie, it's time for bed. But I don't want to go to bed. And they keep playing. No, it's time to pick up toys. And they keep playing, and they don't. And it feels like they're being disrespectful, and they're not listening, and they're being rude, and they're being selfish, and they are. But that they are exercising their will right there. And you want to grow that sense of will. I know it sounds so counterintuitive. It'd be like, ugh. But let me tell you, the people that I see in counseling are people many, many times who have not understood their value and worth in who they are, and their sense of will has been taken away from them. So let me help you figure out how to grow a child through will, and choices is a really great way. So, hey, sweetheart, you get down at their level and you look at them and you say, it's time for bed, sweetie. I know you don't want to go to bed. I know you're having so much fun playing. I see that. How about you get ready for bed in 1 minute or in 2 minutes or 5 minutes? You give a choice. What would you rather do? Immediately you've given that child a will to think and make a choice. You oh, okay, I have a choice. Okay. So, of course, they're going to choose 5 minutes, right? But you know that because you've already planned that. You've already pre-planned that, right? You're not surprised that they're going to choose 5. So you go, oh, okay, you set a little timer and you say, well, in 4 minutes, I'm going to come back. And what are you going to do in 5 minutes? And you help them. Oh, you're going to put away your toys and you're going to brush your teeth and you're going to get your jammies on and we're going to go upstairs and we're going to read our book and we're going to pray and then we're going to go to bed, right? Right. Okay. So you have 5 more minutes to play and then we're making a pinky promise, right? Pinky promise. You're going to get 5 minutes to play and then we're going to race to see how fast we can get pajamas on and get ready for bed. And you make it fun. And in fact, maybe you play with them for the next 5 minutes because you want to connect with them before they go to bed. And so you're making that fun. So you're giving kids a sense of will. The other thing that I want to say about that is do something that sets your kid up for success. This is an intervention from TBRI that I really love. So you're taking your kid, you're going to the store, and this proverbial, hey, oh, that's so cute, can I have that? And that happened to me yesterday. And, well, no, sweetie. So before you get in the store, you say what you're going to do. You set them up for success. Sweetie, today we're going in the store, and we had to do this last week because it was my granddaughter's birthday, so we went shopping for Daddy's birthday. So I said, it's Daddy's birthday, and we're shopping for Daddy. We're not shopping for you today. I know you're going to see a lot of things that you like, but today is for Daddy. We're not buying anything for you. Except for, I said, for one thing, I'm going to buy you, we're going to get cupcakes, and I'll let you pick your cupcake. And oh my goodness, she was so excited about that. And she did. She picked a pink, sparkly cupcake. So every time Grandma, I love that. Can I have that? I'm like, sweetie, remember, we're here to shop for Daddy's birthday, remember? And what are you going to pick? Cupcake. Okay. So, she's a very compliant little girl. Her dad was not compliant. He probably would have thrown a fit. But I'd already set her up for success. So setting kids up for success to know that they have a choice. You can, and you can go to the store and you can know that you're not going to get anything. And it's going to be okay to not get this time. I know you're all asking a lot of questions, but what if they do? That we'll get, we'll answer some questions about that. Some questions later. We're going to try to give you some time for questions, except for that I'm really running out of time quickly. So that giving kids choices allows them to have a sense of control. So when we have the ability to have a relationship with the divine, and we can choose it and have control, and it's from our will and our choice, it makes it so much sweeter to know that we want to have that relationship. And it makes it sweeter when your kids know that they can have some choices. So Karen says, give choices, 1 or 2 choices. The next one is, the last one is negotiation. So kids can sometimes say, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed right now. Can I just play for 4 more minutes? I really do have kids that do this. Can I just play for 4 more minutes? Sure, 4 minutes is great. I'm good with that. Yeah, good job. Okay. We're going to play for 4 minutes instead of 5 minutes. But see, you're giving them a sense of power and autonomy, and you want to grow that in them. So that's that negotiating, and then another negotiating might be, well, can I play? Some kids might think this. Can I play longer and not have a story? And I'm like, well, I guess, yeah, okay. I'm okay with that. But remember, when we get to bed, there'll be no story. We're just going to get in bed, we're going to hug, and we're going to kiss, and we're going to pray, and we're going to go night-night, and no story, because that's what you chose. Okay, Okay, so then you remind them that was, but you're willing to kind of give them that sense of choice and power. So there's a third one, which I am blanking right now, and I probably could look it up in my notes here. It'll come to me. So there's choices, negotiation. Can't think of it. I don't want to I don't want to take the time to look through my notes. It'll come to me. Oh, I have a little pocket cheating guide here. I forgot. Compromise, choices, and giving full attention, offering choices, offering a compromise, and a negotiation. So I guess I'll say all three of them. Okay, see, that just rolls out of my head. I don't even know. I don't even have to think about it. I wanted to read this in the image of Imago Dei that I found online because I think it really sums this up. It's a theological term applied uniquely to humans, which denotes the symbolic relationship between God and humanity. The term has its roots in Genesis 1:27, wherein God created man in his own image. This scriptural passage does not mean that God is in human form, but rather that humans are in the image of God in their moral, spiritual, and intellectual nature. Thus, humans mirror God's divinity in their ability to actualize the unique qualities in which they have been endowed, which makes them different than all other creatures. Rational structure, complete centeredness, creative freedom, a possibility for self-actualization, and the ability for self-transcendence. The longer definition, the term Imago Dei, refers to most fundamentally to two things. First, God's own self-actualization through humankind, and second, God's care for humankind. To say that humans are in the image of God is to recognize the special qualities of human nature which allows God to be made manifest in human. Isn't it amazing when you look at your kids and you see that God is manifesting himself in them? Oh, I just love that. When the other day, I'm sorry to keep talking about my granddaughter, but she is like my, what do you call that? Like she is my, when I'm doing the theory, she's my test person. Like I get to test all this out in real time now. So it's not just theory to me now, but I'm actually doing this. And she said to me, "Grandma, I love Jesus." And it just melted my heart. I was like, oh, I just love that. Why do you love Jesus? Because Jesus loves me. And you know, she's 3. Her concept is so basic, but remember, she's created in the image of God, so somehow she knows about God. And I just love that we have the ability to connect as a human level to that, and they can too on such a sweet human level. So that's so cool. In other words, for humans to have the consciousness recognition of their being in the image of God means that they are the creature through thought whom God plans, and purposes can be made known and actualized. Humans, in this way, can be seen as co-creators with God. The moral implication of the doctrine of Imago Dei are apparent in the fact that if humans are to love God, then humans must love other humans, as each is an expression of God. The human's likeness to God can also be understood by contrasting it with that which does not image God, for example, being who, or as far as we know, are without self-conscious and the capacity for spiritual, moral reflection and growth. Humans differ from all other creatures because of their rational structure, their capacity for deliberation and free decision-making, starts at like 2 or 3. This freedom gives a human a centeredness and a completeness which allows the possibility for self-actualization and participation in a sacred reality. However, the freedom which makes the human in God's image is the same freedom which manifests itself in estrangement from God, as the myth of the fall exemplifies. According to this myth, humans can, in their freedom, I don't think it's a myth, by the way, this is just this person's writing. According to this, humans can, in their freedom, choose to deny or repress their spiritual and moral likeness to God. The ability and desire to love oneself and others, and therefore God, can become neglected and even opposed. Striving to bring about the imago Dei in one's own life can be seen as the quest for wholeness or one's essential self as pointed to in Christ's life and teaching. I just really liked that. If it seems like it's overwhelming, I can give you the address on here, and you can read it yourself if you want it. So I think when we think about giving our kids the greatest ability for mental health is allowing them to have the fervor of life that God created them to have. And play is an essential part of that for kids. Through play, you know, a lot of what I do in therapy with kids is I role play things. I set them up. Like if they're scared of dogs, then we have dogs and we play dogs and we figure out why they're scared, and you know, they jump on them, and then we're like, no, dogs, stay down. And so through play, we're able to really recognize anxiety. I work a lot with kids with anxiety these days, and you can play. If you see if your child is having a lot of anxiety, and you can see that they're afraid of things, like, for example, I have one kiddo that's super afraid of talking to strangers. And so we role play going to the grocery store, and we have somebody come up and at the grocery store I set up the grocery store there in therapy, and then we have I'm the stranger. I know I'm not really the stranger, but we're role playing, right? So I'll come up to the vegetables and I'll go like, hi, isn't this squash beautiful? Look how beautiful this squash is. What do you think? Well, if they don't answer, I'm like, well, why aren't you answering? You know, we kind of talk about it. Listen, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just a stranger having conversation. Let's try it again. Let's do it again. Hey, you like that squash? Isn't that squash great? Oh my goodness, I'm going to take this and have it for dinner. Have you ever had this squash before? No. Oh, it's so good. You should try it. So I role play those anxieties. If you see that anxiety, you can role play it with your kid and make it a lot of fun, and just do it all the time. Like, just have that opportunity. So sadness. What I do with kids with sadness is I teach a lot of emotion intelligence. So I do a lot of work with just helping kids recognize what an emotion is and how to talk about it. And we draw them. I'll give you a little intervention that I do with kids all the time, that we do it over and over. Is it's like a heart. And then I'll say, because I have this chart with emotions on the wall, and then I'll say, so what of these emotions do you have, these feelings do you have in your heart today? And then we get the crayons out, and I'll say, what? And so I'll say, okay, so they'll look at it, and I'll say, sometimes people think sadness is blue, but you can choose whatever color you want. And so they'll get their crayon, and I'll say, how much of your heart feels that way? And they'll color in the heart. And then they go through and they fill up their heart. Then you actually have a visual picture of helping them learn emotions and talking about an emotion and reacting to emotions and thinking about them. So when they're really frustrated or when they're really upset, you could say, "Oh, it seems like you're really frustrated right now. It seems like this is making you really frustrated." You get down in their level and you look at them, and you have what they need from you in that moment is a sense of connection. You're valuable. You're important. How you're feeling is important. We're not dismissing the important. Because we get caught up in the behavior and we want them to stop, and we forget that they have real feelings, and we want to teach them about that. And so we want to take the time to teach about those emotions. So that's another thing that I do to help kids with some depression. So I'm actually going to stop now. I could go on a long time, but I want to give you time. I've got 10 minutes to do some questions. Go ahead. So that's a good thing. Anger is, so there's a reason why kids have anger, right? So the first thing you want to do, so kind of some empowering situations where you want to do is look and see, kind of note, is there a certain time when the kid has anger? So a lot of times what I see is kids can't regulate because they're hungry, because they're tired, because they're overstimulated. There's too much going on. There's a thing called sensory processing disorder, SPD. If you don't know about that, you could look it up. Sensory processing disorder. It's a true and real thing where kids get overstimulated by their certain senses, and they just can't regulate. And so you might look that up. So that's the baseline. Are they hungry? Are they thirsty? Are they tired? Okay. So a lot of times kids that are angry have a really strong sense of ego, like their rights are not being listened to or heard. So this goes back to that will and to their sense of self. And especially at about 3 or 4, they have a strong sense of self and they want to exercise that sense of self, and they get angry when it doesn't happen. And a lot of times I think it's because we haven't taken the time to really understand what's happening. I'll give you an example. I'm seeing one kid that if anytime this kid hears the word no, literally in therapy will go like this. You will see it. You'll physically see just the energy like this. In therapy, he holds it really well, and at home, he explodes. And what's happening is we have a very strong parent who's trying to force this kid to act a certain way because he's embarrassed because of his kid throwing fits. So the more the dad pushes the behavior, the angrier the kid's getting. And so I said, okay, set your child up for success. If you're going to say no, then this kid needs to know this, because kids that get angry need control. I'll just tell you that right away. They need a sense of control. So you're going to set them up for success. You are going to provide opportunity for making a choice. Do you want pears or apple for lunch? Neither. Okay. Well, I guess you don't need fruit right now. You can have fruit later. That's okay. Let them have that. It's okay. Don't push. Well, you're going to have a fruit. Give them that identity to make a choice, because they need to have a choice. And I'm saying that the strongest kids make the most incredible adults. And so a lot of times kids that are angry don't feel safe in their autonomy. That's a really strong statement, but I'm going to say it again. Kids who don't feel safe in their autonomy are angry. Does that make sense to you? So when you're growing the autonomy, that that sense of self, and the ability to make decisions and to have a right to make choices. Those are the strong kids, and they're the ones that often are the angry ones. They happen to be the ones that I love so much in therapy because they just know what they want to do, and they know who they are, and they're strong, and they're cute, and they're fun, and they're creative, and usually they're very creative. They're usually extremely intelligent, and we don't give them enough credit for what they can do. Go ahead. Uh-huh. How old is he? Oh, he's 5. Okay. So how much has he been home in the last year with COVID? Is it like a new thing going out? Because I've seen a lot of reversion with COVID with kids. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, so there's something going in on there. Have you asked him what that's about? Yeah, just get down at his level and ask him why is he hiding? See what he says. It might be a game. It might be that he's scared, like maybe she had a bandage or something, or I haven't seen her in a long time. Masks are scary. At 5, probably masks aren't scary. There's something there. I would have to kind of know him. But yeah, I do want to say because of COVID, I've seen a lot of kids reverting back to younger behaviors. It's just been pretty common. So that would make sense to me a little bit. Go ahead. Yeah. I can't see your name, so. Yeah, so like I said before, is that you are the parent and ultimately your outcome needs to happen somehow. Although I will say that, you know, when I was a parent, I would have said that brushing your teeth every day, morning and night, was super important. And I've had a lot of battles about brushing teeth with 3 boys. Now as a grandma, I'm like, So I'm like, yeah, you want to teach your kids some habits and skills, but fighting over brushing your teeth every night and every morning for every day I don't think my 37-year-old son still brushes his teeth, to be honest. I mean, the dentist tried to pay him to brush his teeth. It's a battle we all lost. So in that case, you might think about what is the outcome. Okay, great. Yeah, that is such a key time, isn't it? Yeah, I know. That's a key. So the first thing that I want to say about that is give yourself some more time for a meltdown. I mean, we're always rushed. I'm running around. Sometimes my husband will say, "What's wrong with you? I don't even have kids anymore." And I'm like, I have this to do and this and this and this and this and this and this. And so I know the anxiety. I'm feeling the anxiety. Like, I gotta get here. I gotta go. Come on, I got to go. Well, guess what? Your kids mirroring. Remember what I said about mirroring? Your kids picking up on that anxiety, that mirroring. So give yourself some more time. Let go of doing the dishes or something. I don't know. Just you got to give yourself more time. And you got to make it a little bit more just chill and fun and relaxed and do some tickling when you're getting ready. And that drives my daughter-in-law crazy. Like the other day, I was trying to get my granddaughter to go to the store, and we were having this like fun tickle time because she didn't want to get her jammies off, right? And I'm tickling her, and I'm having fun, right? I'm tickling her, and I'm tickling her little toes, and her mom walks in and says, "Grandma told you to get your clothes on so you could go to the store." And I'm like, yeah, I did, but we're having fun. I don't care if I go to the store in 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes. We're just going to the store. So give yourself some time. But I know that you have to get your kids in the car seat to go places. Like there's times when you got to do it. So those are just the times that you might not have your kid in clothes. You just pick them up and put them in their pajamas, and you take them and they're going to the doctor in their pajamas. Or they may not have shoes on, or you just might have to get up and you might just have to pick them up and do it, and they're going to scream a little bit, and they're going to get in the car, and you're going to say, "I love you." You're going to look in their face and you're going to say, "Mommy loves you, and I'm sorry that you're crying and that you're upset, and I'm upset too. But when Mommy says we have to get in the car, we have to get in the car." That's what we have to do. Now, there's some training you can do beforehand. So practice, remember what I said about practicing? So if this is an area, you could practice when it's not really intense. So practice, remember what I said, put the car seat in here on the living room floor, and we're going to practice getting in the car seat, and we're going to have blow-ups. And then when there's a blow-up, you can say, "You know, sweetie, we have to get in the car seat," and either you can get in the car seat now, or you can have a time in your room to think about it. And when you have the right attitude and you're ready to listen and obey Mommy, then you can come and get in the car seat, and then we're going to go. But otherwise, you're going to have to go to your room. So practice. Take some time and practice that. And do it lovingly. Tickle and like have some fun and time it. Make it a race. When you're playing, make it a race. Or give a little treat once in a while. Positive reinforcement is better reinforcement than negative reinforcement, always. Because if you're looking for an outcome, a negative reinforcement, a behavioralist will tell you, a negative reinforcement works as well as a positive reinforcement. But in the long run, a positive reinforcement provides a change, a heart change in the long run. So yeah, a negative reinforcement's going to work, like a time in or a time out, however you want to think about that. But also a positive reinforcement, hey, we're going to get in the car seat. We're going to practice, and as soon as you get in the car seat, I'm going to give you this little toy to play with. Or I'm going to give you this little tiny treat, or I'm going to give you a sticker. You get a sticker for listening and obeying Mommy. But you can do that while you're practicing beforehand, before you actually have to do it. So when you're doing it, you're like, remember we practiced, and I'm going to give you a sticker. You ready? We're going to get it. So you're setting them up beforehand. You're giving yourself a little bit of time. You're looking at their face, and you're telling them beforehand, in 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to go, and you have to be ready to go. And remember, we practiced. You remember? And then so you're setting that scenario up for positivity. Do you see that? It takes practice and just playing. I do that in therapy. I would bring the car seat in and we'd practice. So we probably have no time for more questions, but so thank you. I'll be here a little bit later if you want to ask any questions.
Thank you so much, Loretta. And you're willing to stick around for a couple questions? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Well, my only announcements were, remember your surprise sisters, and next week we're doing a trivia night with Miss Katie Mock, so be here, be ready to win. I'm going to be studying questions, so. All right, but I think that's it. You guys have about 35 minutes to hang out and chat, and we won't kick you out till at least 10, right, Michaela? All right, thanks guys for coming.